All right, so we're going to keep our discussion going about the ancient Middle East, the area that we call Mesopotamia, right, between the rivers. And the part we're going to deal with today is about the Hittites. Write that down. The Hittites, Hittites. I'm sorry that's not very bright up there. Good as I can get it. This is the beginning of the Bronze Age. What do you think a characteristic is going to be of the Bronze Age? Just guess.
They discovered bronze.
Okay, what do you use bronze for?
Money.
Sometimes, yes. Usually for weapons, though. This is the time period when we kind of leave stone tools behind and we start using metal tools. Bronze is a really soft metal, though. Easy to work with, but it's not going to be something that's going to be comparable to modern steel weapons. It's still going to be a vast improvement over stone tools. Whoever gets to the Bronze Age first is going to have a big advantage. Okay? The part we're talking about, the Hittites, are going to be from this area up here that's in white. You might know where this would be on a world map.
Lower Europe.
It's right below Europe. Okay, this is Europe right here. Europe stops here. This is Africa, so this is Egypt right here. Asia's over here. This is the modern country of Turkey. Okay, that part that sticks out there. And this empire is going to be a rival to Egypt. The Hittites are going to be these incredible horsemen that come down out of the mountains, and they're going to be able to, for a little while, conquer the Egyptian empire. Absolutely an incredible empire. There's not as much to write on this one, guys, so I'll kind of tell you what you need to write down as we go through. A lot of it's going to be pictures. Remember I told y'all before that one of the things that we do as historians is we're kind of like detectives. We try and piece evidence together. Well, there's not a lot of written record about this area. So a lot of times our detective work is really, really hard. We're looking at artifacts, remnants of civilizations. This is a satellite view of Hattusha. Hattusha used to be a glorious city.
I thought it was a rock.
It kind of looks like a rock, but if you look real close, can you see the remnants of a city?
Yeah, I can see the road.
You can see a road, you can kind of see a block system.
Oh.
There's the remnants of buildings through here.
Wait, so
I thought it was a one big rock.
That's a road.
That's what I was
That's
thinking.
a road?
That's a road.
I wasn't listening
Oh
to
my
you.
goodness, I just realized the other side of the road.
Yeah. Okay, so this is a great place for a city at that time period. Why do you think that would be a good spot?
Those are. Wait. Why are there such big rocks on it?
That's a mountain.
That looks like a big rock.
Well, they are. They were laid down by glaciers over
Okay.
millions of years ago. But it's the side of a mountain that you're looking at. This is a great location because it's hard to invade it. It's got a valley to protect it. It's got mountains. It's got deserts on the outside. Hattusha is an outstanding spot to build a city. Here's a close-up view from a little closer to the ground of the remnants of Hattusha.
Oh, okay.
Look a little more like a city now.
Yeah, it's kind of cool.
And this was the Lion's Gate. This was the entrance to the city. Now, y'all may not be able to tell what that is, but this used to be a glorious gateway coming in. And these are lions carved into stone on either side.
Looks like you're about to go in a zoo.
What that
Well, you'd be entering this building.
lead lines through it? Is that what they call it? The line gate or something?
Well, it's because the lions are there to protect the city. A lion is an ancient symbol for power and royalty. And it was there to intimidate its neighbors, its rivals. When they would show up for trade, they would see the glory of this place. Now, it looks kind of boring now when you look at it, because it's just carved rock. But it would have been painted, and it would have been absolutely glorious. So these would have been painted lions, and there would have been lapis lazuli, blue stone across this. It would have been a beautiful, beautiful place to enter. Okay? So, do you think this was a wealthy civilization?
Yeah, back then.
Yeah.
Incredibly wealthy back then. Very poor today. But absolutely incredible back then. And we know a little bit about them from the art. I want you to write down somewhere that the Hittites were the first to use war chariots. War chariots. I mentioned earlier they were great horsemen. But instead of just having people on horses like the Egyptians did for so long, and the Egyptians even had bowmen on horses, these guys figured out a way to be even more useful. They would have these chariots and one guy driving while another was a fully armed archer that could pull the bow and fire while moving. This is like the primitive version of a tank. Now, this might not sound like a great advance, but compare this to an archer on foot or somebody trying to ride a horse by himself and shoot bows and arrows. Is this a big advantage?
Mm-hmm.
Massive advantage. And also, I don't know if y'all can see it, but there's 1, 2, 3 horses pulling this.
What's the place where it's like a big circle and they flood it and they put ships in there?
That's the Colosseum. We're going to get to that in Rome. Yeah.
I thought that was Egypt. Something like that.
Well, the Egyptians didn't do that, but we're going to see a naval battle that they did do. So we know about this from the artwork that they had. Just examples. This is a bas relief carving of what Hittite men would have looked like going into battle. What do you think about their appearance there? Does it tell you anything about them?
They're like, wearing this big old coat.
Yeah, they're wearing this turban. Now, it's kind of hard to tell from this
Yeah.
because it's carved into rock. But here's an artist's rendition of what it probably would have actually looked like. It doesn't look nearly as dumb this way as it does up here, right? They look like cone heads over here.
Yeah.
But we can start to see what it would have looked like. These guys were vicious going into battle. This is what their riding looked like. Does that look like anything we've seen before?
That's what animal graphic right there.
Animal crackers?
Does not look like an
Okay. What would we call this kind of riding?
Here.
Pictographs or pictograms, right? It's something that where the picture probably stands for an idea. Maybe some phonograms in there, but these are mostly pictograms. Does it look kind of like the Demotic writing, the hieroglyphics that we saw in Egypt?
Yeah.
Sort of, yeah. It's got the same kind of concept. So this area is going to have a balance of power. The two big empires are the Mitanni Empire and the Hittite Empire. By this point, Egypt is still cultural, but it's not nearly as big of a power as it used to be. You ever heard that word, that term Mitanni before? If you read, we'll get into it when we get into the Hebrew culture, but if you read your Old Testament, this is where, when Moses was kicked out of Egypt, that's where he flees to. So he comes here and he flees up here and takes a Mitanni bride. Okay? So this is going to be a massive, two massive cultures that are running into each other. And it's going to kind of create a balance of power there. Now, we hear about this great battle. Write this one down. The Battle of Kadesh. And we know about the Battle of Kadesh because we have found the remnants of the treaty. This is what's left of the Treaty of Kadesh. Now, you see all this glass around here? That's the parts of the treaty that we don't have. It's been broken. It was on a tablet that's been broken. So we have parts of it. And then we have large parts missing and we have other parts. So do you think we know the whole story of the battle?
No.
Not really. So what we've been able to piece together is that this was probably the largest chariot battle ever fought. There could have been 5, 6, some historians have even suggested there could have been 10,000 chariots at this battle. And this is going to be the Hittites against the Egyptians. And most historians believe it turned out to be a draw. But both sides are going to claim victory. Ramses II is going to return and he's going to claim victory. And then the Hittites are going to return and they're going to claim victory. But it's a massive, massive battle. Imagine 6,000 chariots, armed people out there fighting each other.
That's one big bloody battle.
It is a bloody, bloody battle. By the way, one of the things that the Egyptians would sometimes do, once they adopted the chariot, they're gonna very quickly adopt the Hittite idea.
Just saying, that was about like 15,000 horses or something like that.
Yeah,
If
a
they
lot.
had 3 horses per
Yeah.
chariot.
Yeah. One of the things they would do though is they would train their horses to attack. And they would put sharpened metal hoof covers. And the horses would actually rear up and attack as well. So the chariot's a weapon too. It's something vicious. Who do you think has the advantage? If you look at this is an Egyptian chariot. Compare this to what you saw in the Hittite
The
chariot.
Egyptians definitely have anything.
Why?
Because they
I
got
think
armor.
the other ones do because it's just one person. Like, how is he supposed to be shooting a bow and driving at the
There you
same
go.
time?
Usually the Egyptians didn't have a second driver. Usually they were firing themselves, which will slow them down though, okay?
But it's
Oh.
also smaller.
It looks like he's got something tied to his waist to help him help the steer.
Yeah, that may be true. That may be true. It's interesting. And again, this is all detective work. We're just kind of guessing from the information what happened. Next group is the Phoenicians. Write this one down too. The Phoenicians were the greatest traders of the ancient world. They were from North Africa, and they made their money by buying and selling goods. They didn't make a lot. Okay? They were traders. Traders with a D, not a T. A trader with a T is somebody that, commits a crime against their country. This is somebody that buys and sells. Trader. Transmitters of civilization. So how would they transmit civilization? This was one of your questions on the quizzes the other day.
What were the choices?
How do you think Phoenicians would spread civilization if they were merchants?
Alphabet.
Yeah, the alphabet was theirs. That's good. So they'll share their alphabet. Plus, if you're buying and selling with other countries, you're going to be sharing your culture. You're going to be learning about them, right? We still do this today. There's a reason why American culture is all over the world. I don't care where you go in the world, you can get a Coca-Cola. It's because we have sold this to the whole world. That's an American culture. I don't care where in the English-speaking world you go, you're going to watch American television because we have dominated that industry. Well, the Phoenicians were kind of like the Americans of that time period, if that makes any sense. They're from mostly North Africa. At one point, we're going to call them Carthaginians. They're from this area, Carthage. But they're going to spread out, and they're going to conquer all of the Mediterranean Sea area. Okay?
Is that in Italy?
Is what?
Like, is where they're at in Italy? Like
This is
the
Italy here,
Phoenicians? Okay.
So these guys are going to be the greatest sailors in the world. Nobody can mess with the Phoenicians at sea. All right? This was the type of ship they had. It's called a bireme ship. Write that down somewhere. The Phoenicians used bireme ships. And we know about it because there's pictures of it on their money. What's cool about this ship? What do you think? See anything special about it?
There's like a bunch of paddles and stuff on
There's
it.
probably room in the bottom.
Okay.
The bottom, they all sit in like a bleacher bench, like
Yep.
on the bottom, and they all row.
That is true, but what's special about it is this ship is powered by sails and by paddles. It has two sources of power. So at sea, when the wind is coming, they can raise that up and they can fly through the ocean very quickly. But if the wind's not there, they can paddle it, they can still move quickly, okay? They also are, because they've got these fast-moving ships, they're much more agile, and they can get into places other people can't. They would develop these boarding bridges at the further ships. They're like battering rams, and they would take this and put bronze over it. The reason why is they would just run into an enemy ship with the front of it, and this bronze would sink the ships. They were that kind of a people. They were very violent when it came to the sea. Again, nobody could touch the Phoenicians when it came to to sea battles. Absolutely incredible. The other thing the Phoenicians gave us is they gave us the color purple. Now, that doesn't mean there was no purple before, but they figured out a way to make purple dye. And purple is still today the color of royalty. If you, it's in some countries only royal families could wear purple.
Purple.
It was considered to be a royal color. And the royal purple makes them incredibly rich. Incredibly rich. Because others couldn't figure out a way to get this. You'd get red or you'd get blue. I don't know why it looks like this guy's smoking.
I think it's just pointing something.
All right, so our alphabet comes from this area. Write that down somewhere. The Phoenicians were the people that gave us our alphabet. And in fact, the earliest place we find it is in a place called Byblos. Look at that word, Byblos. Does that look familiar? You might not have seen that one before. What did you say? Babylon, it's a related word to Babel, means to talk. So it's very
Tower
related.
of Babel.
That's where the Tower of Babel comes from. But this is the same word that we get our word bibliography from, and Bible. In Latin, both of those mean book. A bibliography is a list of books, and a Bible is a collection of books. So Byblos is city of the book, okay? And it's where the alphabet, as we know it, developed. Now, there were other things before, but remember the others were ideograms or pictograms, where they stood for ideas. This is really the first time that we get a phonetic alphabet. I mean, our very word, phonetic, Phoenician, okay? It's where where letters have sounds. What do you think of this art, by the way? This is a Phoenician art. I think it's kind of cool. Anybody like it?
That or the.
Yeah, the bottom right.
I do like it.
I think it's kind of cool. What do you think is going on here? What is this?
Stadium?
Very good. It's an amphitheater. It's kind of like a stadium. It's the same concept. There's a stage down here, and they would carve these into the side of mountains usually, so there'd be a natural echo. So you could come down and you could speak and be heard all the way around it. They still use those quite a bit in Greece and North Africa, all around the Mediterranean. So what did the alphabet look like? This is your Phoenician alphabet. Does that look like our alphabet? There's similarities. The Greeks are going to borrow the Phoenician alphabet, and you're going to get the Greek alphabet. The Romans are then going to borrow it again, and that's the second one.
They
Okay?
literally named the alphabet after the first two letters.
Yeah, alphabet, exactly. So, what do you notice about the Phoenician alphabet compared to the Greek and the Roman?
They're all different.
They are different, although there's some similarities. The Phoenician alphabet didn't have all the sounds. Everything wasn't there. So if you had to spell a word that needed the G sound, what would you do?
Just put a blank space.
You have to find something that is similar and try and get close to it. You might use Gimel, okay?
Or gamma.
Well, Gamma's Greek. Phoenician, Greek, Roman. Phoenician, Greek, Roman. Okay? So there's all these different kind of concepts out there. That's interesting to me. Remember this one that we talked about before?
Oh yeah, I meant cow
That was originally for ox, and it becomes Aleph, and then Alpha, and then A. Okay? That's at least interesting to me. Where do we still see these letters sometimes? Anywhere?
Oh my.
You see them in fraternities and sororities, colleges, yeah. That's where you see them sometimes. The greatest of the colonies was Phoenicia. Phoenicia I'm sorry, it was Carthage and Phoenicia. It's this North African place here. I went there in 92, I think. There's not much left of it. But at one point, this is the remnants of an empire that dominated all of the Mediterranean Sea. What do you think happened to it?
Washed it.
Some of it did, some of it got destroyed by hurricanes and volcanoes. What's gonna signal the end of this empire is gonna be a war with the next greatest empire. A little place is gonna, right here is gonna develop. A little city, the city of Rome. And then Rome is gonna become the largest empire the world ever saw. And these two are gonna fight each other. And what you're gonna have is you're gonna have Phoenicia, which is the most powerful sea power in the world, that started fighting against Rome, which was the most powerful land power in the world. And you're gonna have a terrible, terrible battle. By the way, again, I keep talking about the Bible with this, but these are the same stories you hear about in the Bible when you hear about the epistles or the apostles going to places. A lot of times they're going to Phoenicia, and it's in this time period when these two different places were fighting each other. Okay? We are right in the midst of all that. We're going to pick up with the Assyrians next time. That is a good place to stop.
Okay, well,
You have a question?
The biggest battle, like we
Kadesh.
talked about?
Yeah.
Were they fighting Romans?
No, at that point it was the Hittites against the Egyptians. The Romans, when they come along, they're going to have some difference.
Well, the Romans, the dude that wears the helmets and had like the red
Yes,
thing.
yes.
Yeah, that was pretty good.
Yeah. The Romans were the most violent people in the ancient world.
They had the spear and the shield.
Oh yeah, they're going to do things like the Colosseum you talked about. They're going to build those and just put people in and make them fight,
And then they
fight
put-
bears and lions.
And they
to
put
death.
lines in there like the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Also tigers. They
Yeah.
chain the tigers up.